Or is it simply a freak accident of nature? An agronomist with Nigeria Institute for Oil Palm Research, NIFOR Benin. The strange palm tree also raises issues of a blend of science with human interest and culture.
ITV, certainly the best.
One thing I understand about BP is high blood pressure.
My BP is okay now.
What is your BP again?
It's 0 level.
I understand BP is like something that can come and take any individual at any time, and your system will just go high. At times, you cannot understand what is now happening to your system. Do you know your BP right now? Actually, I'm not a doctor, but I know my BP is fine.
Stress is the body's physiological and psychological reaction to challenges or demands. It is generally categorized into 3 main temporal types: acute, episodic, and chronic, and 2 co-emotional types, positive and negative. Strangely, in Nigeria today, many families are under immense pressure, most especially the men, fathers and mothers, due to harsh economic realities and unsustainable source of livelihood finds it difficult to cope mentally, physiologically, socially, morally, and financially. This puts immense pressure on the family, hence the society. Some lack the financial muscle to go to the hospital whenever they feel overwhelmed by severe headache, body aches and pains, opting for placebos like pain relief medication to ease the pains, unaware that the blood pressure has shot up. Perhaps requires medical attention to bring it back to normal. A man wakes up in the morning, considered hale and healthy, only to slump and die without noticeable medical analysis. A woman can be overjoyous and bubbling one moment, and the next moment she is pronounced dead after being rushed to the hospital. Stress is real, and the way you choose to handle it determines how far you will live as an individual on planet Earth. Some Nigerians do not see the need to go for medical checkup irrespective of their age, status, and religion. Many, due to financial constraints, may not want to risk the money for feeding the family for medical expenses. The rise in cases of insecurity in the country is not even helping matters. Nigerians are always exposed to various degrees of stress each day, accumulating to what might one day lead to an irreversible health issue, and if not properly checked, might lead to terminal disease that will eventually end the life of such an individual. Unmanaged or unregulated stress leads to high blood pressure, which by all standard is a silent killer. Many are unaware of the dangers they are exposed to on a daily basis due to inability of individuals to dictate the imbalance in their blood pressure, which might not come with any sign or symptom until it's too late. For some, due to religious beliefs, they do everything possible to avoid hospitals. Some have this mental block of what you do not know cannot kill you. Alas, all this means of postponing the inevitable.
High blood pressure is a killer disease. In this part of the world, most people are ignorant. You will see an average black people, they will tell you they don't have high blood pressure. It doesn't ring bell. Some say it's hereditary anyway, but most of the things that's going to be problem, pressure, as the name implies. Because if you are bored and you have a series of problems, you are unable to manage all these problems, your blood pressure will rise. And when it rises to a particular percentage, death can arise. You can go paralyzed, you can develop stroke. So my advice to people today is that don't wait until when you fall sick before you try to take your blood pressure. There are a lot of hospitals today in Nigeria that offer even blood pressure check for free. So I advise people to always check their blood pressure so that they don't wait until when the thing has gone to a stage where they will be running up and down before consulting the medical facilities. At my age, I am 15 by now. If I tell you my blood pressure is so amazing. My blood pressure is 120/80. Just like when I go to the hospital and I tell doctors about my blood pressure, they say my blood pressure look like that of children. So my blood pressure is very normal. The problem a lot of people have is that, you see, when we say blood pressure is normal, it's 120/80. It's within the range. The most especially the down one of it is what you need to pay more emphasis to, because the down one, the moment is above 100, that means your life is at risk.
Coping with stress in Nigeria requires active management of economic pressures, traffic and demanding workplaces, effective strategies including setting strict boundaries, practicing deep breathing, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and leaning on community networks. Professional mental health support is also increasingly accessible through local digital platforms. Managing stress in the Nigerian context involves a combination of personal, environmental, and structural approaches. First, financial and economic management budgeting. With rising living costs, prioritize essential expenses and strictly cut off non-essential. Multiple income streams. Explore side hustles or digital skills that can be managed from home to ease financial anxiety. The second way to manage stress, physical and mental wellness, limit stimuli. Disconnect from news and social media at least 2 hours before bedtime to prevent information overload. Breathing and meditation. Use a 3-3-3 rule in moments of panic. Identify 3 objects, 3 sounds, and move 3 body parts. Rests and routine. Prioritize a consistent sleep schedule, 7 to 8 hours, and make time for regular physical exercise. For diet, reduce heavy caffeine and alcohol intake as they can mimic or exacerbate anxiety.
There is a need for everyone to always go for medical checkup, because we always preach and let the patient understand the fact that prevention is better than cure, and knowing your body health status will enable you know what to do to prevent the complication of some certain disease conditions that are not curable. And the very important one of these disease conditions that are not curable include hypertension, diabetes, asthma, and so many other ones that are though not too common. Hypertension is a disease defined as the force of blood pushing against the arterial wall, becoming persistently high. It therefore means that the heart will not be overworking or overloading itself, which can result to some certain complication that may result to demise or death of the patient.
Walk and traffic commute strategies. If living in hubs like Lagos or Abuja or even in Benin City, use offline or localized traffic apps to plan routes and avoid peak rush hours. Listen to calming audio or podcasts during unavoidable gridlock. Workplace boundaries. Learn to politely say no to extra workloads when feeling overwhelmed, and avoid stretching work hours into your personal life.
Quite a number of persons are living with hypertension and it's not diagnosed, meaning that they are not even aware that they are living with hypertension until complication will start coming up, which may result to the patient's death. According to World Health Organization, 46% of people with hypertension are living with it undiagnosed. Generally speaking, there are 2 types of hypertension. We have the primary hypertension and we have the secondary hypertension. The primary hypertension is also referred to as the essential hypertension. It therefore means that the cause of hypertension is not identifiable. The cause of hypertension is not known. However, it starts by gradual build-up of the blood pressure until it reaches a level that will not cause the patient to not becoming hypertensive. Other than the primary hypertension, we still have what we call the secondary hypertension. There are some certain disease conditions that somebody may have that will not cause his or her blood pressure to become elevated. For example, people that has adrenal gland tumor, which includes pheochromocytoma or primary aldosteronism or Cushing syndrome, as the case may be. All these are hormonal gland disease that may result to somebody not becoming hypertensive. Not only that, people that has thyroid gland disease that may suffer what we call thyroid toxicosis, they can have hypertension. Not only that, people that suffer stress, what we call type A individual, such people also will become hypertensive. Clinically, we divide hypertension into 3 groups. We have what we call the mild, moderate, and severe. Mild, moderate, and severe. It depends on the reading of your blood pressure. That will enable us to know whether it is mild, moderate, or severe. The blood pressure is measured in millimeter mercury. The upper one, when you take your blood pressure, when you go to any hospital and they use a sphygmomanometer, which is this clinical instrument to measure your blood pressure. These are the 2 clinical instruments that we use to measure the blood pressure. This is a sphygmomanometer and this is a stethoscope. So when the blood pressure reading is taken, they will always tell you the numerator, which is the upper value. The upper value is the systolic blood pressure, while the lower one is called the diastolic blood pressure. Your normal blood pressure should fall between 110 to 120 systolic. 110 to 120 systolic. That is, your blood pressure can be 120, it can be 110, it can be 105, it can be 115 as the case may be. Then the lower value is between 70 to 80. 70 to 80, it should fall within that range. That is to say that the normal blood pressure can be 110 over 80. It can be 120 over 80 millimeter mercury. So if your blood pressure at any point in time now goes above 140/90, if your blood pressure now falls above 140/90, that is, if the systolic, the upper value is more than 140 millimeter mercury, and the down part is more than 90 millimeter mercury, it therefore means that you are becoming hypertensive, and there's a need for you to be told of some certain things you have to do to ensure that the blood pressure returns back to normal. And there are some certain risk factors that will cause somebody to becoming hypertensive. And one of those risk factors is age. Most often than not, people that are 55 years and above, they just become hypertensive, even if that initially they were never hypertensive at the beginning. The family history, it therefore means that hypertension runs in the family. When your father is hypertensive, when your mother was hypertensive, there's a tendency for the hypertension to now be transferred to the offspring, because of the genetic locus, as the case may be. Not only that, some women, when they are pregnant, they just develop, because of hormonal influence, they develop hypertension when they are pregnant, what we call pre-eclampsia. At the point when they are pregnant, that is when they became hypertensive. It's a risk factor in developing hypertension in future, even when the woman is no longer pregnant. Not only that, not exercising. People that indulge in sedentary lifestyle, when you don't exercise, when there's obesity, accumulation of fat, these are risk factors in developing hypertension. There are people that don't sleep well. There's what we call obstructive sleep apnea. When you don't sleep well, there's tendency for somebody to develop hypertension. Then people that consume high sodium, foods, is a substance that increases the blood pressure. So presently, even the NAFDAC is trying to even convert most of the domestic salt use from sodium chloride to potassium chloride. There's a need for you to consume more potassium chloride than the sodium chloride, though the potassium chloride is more expensive as the case may be. Then reduce your fatty intake. Cholesterol tend to build up in the artery. As I said earlier on, that the force of blood, against the arterial wall, when it becomes elevated. So anything that is capable of reducing the caliper or the aperture of the artery of the heart will certainly cause hypertension or cause increased or elevated blood pressure. So taking fatty food, or when there's high cholesterol in the blood that is capable of reducing the aperture, will result to hypertension. So reduce your fatty intake, take more of your saturated fat. Then not only that, there's a need for you to also do a regular body checkup. Doing a regular body checkup to identify most of the disease that is causing a secondary hypertension, and when cured, of course, it's a way of combating hypertension, like kidney related disease.
Community and support social connections, engage in group activities, sport or religious communities, sharing experiences with trusted friends or family can significantly reduce emotional burdens. Professional help. Do not hesitate to seek therapy or counseling platforms like Find a Helpline Nigeria provide localized, confidential access to mental health resources and crisis hotlines.
People might just be living with hypertension, with elevated blood pressure, they move around until complication comes up. The person might just fall down when the person is going to church, or even try to give an offering, or even while in a seminar room, or even while delivering a lecture, because the hypertension itself does not manifest any symptom until when it becomes like a medical emergency with complication. Medical emergency with complication means that there's already an organ damage. That is when the person, will manifest symptoms of hypertension. However, the commonest symptom of hypertension that persons might manifest include the headache. Some person might also manifest nose bleeding. Some person might manifest, breathlessness. Some person might have swelling of the foot. Some person might manifest palpitation, which is the heart beating very fast. But be that as it may, those complications will actually come up if there's already a complication. Primarily, hypertension might not manifest any symptom. It's just symptomless. That's why we say it's a silent killer. So there is a need for one to always know his or her status. The reason why you have to go to an hospital, go to a clinic, go to a pharmacy, go to any healthcare facility nearby to make sure your blood pressure is checked. The commonest cause of stroke worldwide, the commonest cause of stroke in Nigeria, the commonest cause of stroke in Benin City is hypertension, where you see somebody just fall down, at the end of the day they come down with paralysis or weakness of the face or weakness of the one part of the limb, which is stroke, is hypertension. So other than the fact that hypertension can cause stroke, hypertension can also cause coronary artery disease, which can cause heart attack, can cause heart failure, can cause angina pectoris, heart pain, as the case may be. Hypertension can also result to hypertensive nephropathy. The commonest cause of kidney disease, chronic kidney disease after infection is hypertension. You can see that hypertension can cause quite a number of organ damage in the human body. Not only that, hypertension can also cause somebody to experience blindness, what we call hypertensive retinopathy. You might just wake up and see that you are having a blurry vision, and your blurry vision might be as a result that your blood pressure is elevated and have resulted to the retinal artery getting burst, as the case may be. Not only that, somebody may also have a complication of peripheral artery disease condition, which may result to erectile dysfunction. Not only that, some persons might begin to have what we call the peripheral neuropathy, a situation whereby you begin to feel some part of your body not working well, or blood not feeling sensation or loss of sensation in that part of the body. That might just be as a result of hypertension causing that complication. Not only that, some person might also begin to suffer what we call dementia, which is cognitive dysfunction, whereby the person lost personality, lost thinking, cognition, as the case may be. All these are complications of hypertension. So you see that hypertension may sound very simple to the hearing, but the complication it may cause to any man may be the cause of death of the person. So when you are hypertensive, there are certain lifestyle modification. Overthinking certainly will cause hypertension. When we were talking about the secondary cause of hypertension, we said stress. When you are stressed because of economic difficulties, challenges, loss of job, marital problem or discord, as the case may be. So when you are overthinking, there is a way your body will not react. Your brain will react. There's what we call the adrenopituitary, reaction. So when you are overthinking, your brain tends to release an hormone which is called the cortisol from the pituitary adrenal cortex axis. So this cortisol that your body releases during stressful condition is to actually combat your stress. But however, the cortisol that is now released to combat the stress will now cause an increase in blood pressure. This is the pathophysiology of how somebody that is thinking, somebody that is overwhelmed with thoughts, brooding, stressful condition will become hypertensive because of the cortisol that is released. Lifestyle modification that one can employ to combat being hypertensive include do endurance exercise, ensure that you do exercise. Then you have to eat good food, eat food that contain potassium rather than sodium. And very common food that contains potassium include avocado pear, eat potato, eat banana. These are food that can help to combat and reduce your blood pressure as the case may be. Then not only that, reduce your alcohol intake. Excessive intake of alcohol can cause hypertension. So when you are hypertensive or you have been diagnosed to be hypertensive and you are still indulging in alcohol, there's a need for you to reduce your alcohol intake. Not only that, if you are obese, obesity is a risk factor in developing hypertension. Try and burn down your fat. Reduce your fatty food intake. Take more vegetable, take fruit, take water to burn down fat. Burning down fat, reducing fat in your body is a way of preventing hypertension. Not only that, those who smoke cigarettes, use of nicotine. Nicotine has been known to increase blood pressure because the nicotine has a substance that refers to as when it is metabolized, it forms what we call the benzoyl-pyrene 7-HDL. All these are substances that is in nicotine or the cigar, which when it enters the system, it has a way of increasing blood pressure for somebody to become hypertensive. So when you smoke and you have been told you are not hypertensive, there's a need for you to cut down smoking. I mean, these are lifestyle modifications that one can employ in combating hypertension. And not only that, there's a need for you to always have a personal physician, have a personal doctor that will help to check your body. Form the habit of checking your blood pressure once in a month. It's not difficult. Once in a month, you can go to any healthcare center, you can go to any health facility to always get your blood pressure checked and ask them if it's elevated. If it's elevated, you will be told of what to do, because hypertension is a silent killer. You must not have any symptom for you to not say, oh, it's like I have hypertension. Most often than not, people that are diagnosed with hypertension in the hospital, it is because of the fact that they already developed the complication that will make them to come to an hospital for the complaint. For the vital sign, which is the checking of the blood pressure, they will now be told eventually that it's their blood pressure that now resulted to their complication. So always check your blood pressure. Checking your blood pressure is a way of preventing hypertension. Stay healthy, stay good, and stay nice.
Once you clock 40 and above, make a habit of going for medical checkup. Whether you are sick or not, it's irrelevant. Make sure you know and manage your blood pressure to prevent a timely health challenge that can eventually lead to death. Remember to maintain a healthy lifestyle. You must avoid eating too much junk food, drinking too much alcohol, alcoholic mixture, smoking tobacco or hard drugs. Exercise frequently, and by any means look for a trusted friend, brother, sister, uncle, auntie, a pastor or an imam, a traditional practitioner when the pressure or stress is too much for you to bear. Wilson or Marshall reporting.
ITV, certainly the best.
the man went out to bring in thugs to come and beat her.
Yeah.
In a situation like that, do you think women would have seen that and still want to speak?
Really, we're talking
That's
about...
what I said.
So
So
that's-
when they bullied her,
Yeah.
now, if she's not bold enough, she will shut up.
What is your advice for girls out there that are so desperate to be married?
We women, we have to be really intentional about our parenting.
If you know a child is being abused, or you see signs, a bruise or a child, it has to be investigated.
People barely even breathe when they are going for a shrebi and something.
Party.
You have to be
They can't
smart.
sit
If
down.
you see where they are dressing them up or dragging on both sides, you cannot you cannot breathe.
That's what
And
I'm
these
saying.
women will stay in those events for hours just to keep up with that beauty trend.
Is that healthy?
That's not healthy.
I am Patricia Uremu Gabriels, and we're reaching you live from our Lagos Network studio. Of course, Women in Conversation is a program designed for women to discuss about themselves.
This is Aqua Game, a popular game in Africa played by our ancestors to entertain themselves after each day of farming. It is also relevant in our coronation in Africa. It is a sport and indeed very interesting, as every seed had a role in the game. Playtime is 45 minutes per set. There is no age limit as long as you can spin aqua seed. Ayo or aqua game, known as the game of intellectual. This game requires a lot of mathematical skills. Aqua game is played with carved wooden box containing 12 holes.
Abandonment of wife and children remains a growing concern in our Nigerian society. We're looking at the social, legal concerns, and outside the emotional trauma it comes with, the financial burden, the other challenges that could be associated with it. How can we resolve this, tackling it headlong? We started with a part 1 series last week, and we promised that we're going to be bringing you a part 2 of wife abandonment alongside the children. And basically, we look at this and how we can tackle this headlong. And all of this has been an issue that many homes are suffering today. What is the responsibility of the husband, father in a home? And if the husband or father leaves the home, abandoning the responsibilities, what could be the consequence? Well, looking at the part 2 series, I still have the legal luminary with me, Emmanuel Obapolo. Big thanks for still being here.
It's a pleasure being here.
My name is Philip Omo-Gyukbo. Well, we interrogate this looking at the ADRO, because I understand the fact that there could be other ways, mechanisms that we can seek help in tackling the challenges that the wife and children could be faced with as a result of the abandonment by the husband. Okay, so how can we appropriate a definition of ADRO as it relates to this?
Okay, ADR simply means alternative dispute resolution. By its meaning, literally, it means that it is another form of dispute, of resolving dispute without necessarily going through the traditional courtroom system. That's just what ADR means. Some persons could best describe it as settlement between parties or amongst parties without the traditional courtroom system. That is ADR.
Okay,
and the court does encourage ADR.
Okay, we understand that basically for us to kickstart resolution, it's not really always a common practice for sufferers or victims to head to the court. But again, how effective is this ADR?
ADR is very effective, and it helps or assists to lessen the burden on the courts. ADR, just now, like I did say from the outset, that the court does encourage alternative dispute resolution to matters that are even pending in courts, where the court encourage the parties to go and resolve themselves or resolve whatever is the issue or issues between them or amongst them. And by so doing, most times the matter is resolved, they come back to court for court to give it a consent judgment in most times. So the ADR is very necessary just now, particularly in the 21st century that we find ourselves or that we are living in just now. I think ADR is a better means of resolving matter, because by the time the party themselves and whoever is the middleman that resolve the matter come to an amicable settlement or amicable resolution of whatever has been the issue or issues between or amongst them, I think it is better for them, and it promotes unity, it promotes friendship, and it promotes goodness amongst the persons.
What institutions constitute ADRO channels?
Well, ADR, we have types of ADR. One, we have what is called negotiation. Negotiation is a process where the parties themselves, without necessarily involving a third party,
like the husband and the wife,
a mediator,
okay,
as the case may be, they resolve themselves in an amicable manner, and where they think they want to make it a binding document with respect to the negotiation that they've arrived at, they cannot seek for an expert, and that by so doing will lead to another type of alternative dispute resolution, which is known as expert determination. The expert is a person who is a professional in a particular field or profession or career, and that expert will guide the parties to an amicable resolution, wherein upon the resolution of whatever is the issue between them, it will now reduce it to writing, and it will have a binding force between or amongst the parties.
Okay, but I understand the fact that if we look at it, the ADRO channel in resolving disputes that has to do with abandonment of wife and children, we may be having some constraints. Some have already critiqued that if the judgment or if the decisions taken at that level could be binding enough that one can also use for litigation, peradventure that channel fails. So how binding is such decisions?
Most times, ADR is binding between or amongst the parties when it is reduced into writing, and the parties themselves agree to whatever resolution they have arrived at is binding on them. If a party violates the resolution that has been reached between or amongst them, that document cannot be filed in court so that it will have a binding force by the court.
We have dispute resolutions like within the families, for instance, where the extended family can come in and resolve. How effective is that?
Well, it is effective because that is the traditional way of settling matters or issues amongst parties, as the case may be. And before now, families, where it has to do with matrimonial matters, whether it is marriage under the Act or marriage under the native law and custom, we have seen how families were able to resolve the parties. And it becomes binding because where the family told the line of truth and justice,
exactly.
They will arrive at an amicable settlement of whatever is the resolution between or amongst the parties. But where there is an atom or a concern of bias, that is where you begin to find out that the parties will begin to frown at whatever resolution they have arrived at. Even in court judgment, there are situations where because the court is not a magician, the court is not where the parties have been. The court is not privy to whatever has been the issue between the parties. It is what the parties bring to court that the court will now look at and evaluate and arrive at whatever decision the court arrives at. And we've seen where people will say, oh, this court judgment, I am not in agreement with it. And that is why the law, particularly the Constitution, provides for an alternative route, which is for the person to go upstairs. And we'll see appeals and counter appeals. And even just now, we have seen, particularly in election petition matters, even when the Supreme Court arrived at the judgment, people still frown at it. The parties, their well-wishers and privies and surrogates, they begin to talk about it. But the good thing is that you don't have any other place to go but to go to the court of public opinion. It becomes mere opinion and not a binding force.
Well, we're looking at this, but let's look at where some spouses could be dominant. While we could have some spouses that may not be dominant, where you just made mention of it that there could be situations that will bring about bias, in all of this. Now, what can you say is the most effective way to resolve issues under this branch of abandonment of wife and children, looking at the ADR?
Most importantly, to my mind, I think the best way, alternative to resolving matrimonial matters, captured, be it abandonment of wife and children, be it abandonment of husband and children, whichever form or manner it takes, I think the traditional way of resolution of issues between or amongst parties should be the appropriate way. And
but some have frowned at it.
Yes.
Some have said that some families could be biased and take side with the man, for instance, because if you look at the traditional setting in Africa, the man seems to always have his way in everything. And he's seen as the head of the home, and he's seen as someone who can never do wrong, even though there are skirmishes or features of him, going against the rules that binds the relationship. So in that case, don't you see some gaps that could be closed?
You know, when we talk of marriage now, we are looking at the two types of marriage or marriages that we have. One, marriage under the Act. Two, marriage under the native law and custom. And if you look at the traditional way of resolution of issues amongst parties, most times it favors marriage under native law and custom. And that is why those who have advocated for resolution of matrimonial matters have advocated that most times it should be resolution, the alternative dispute resolution favors more importantly marriage under native law and custom. And by so doing, it is also in public domain that the resolution of marriage under native law and custom seem to favor the man more than the woman. And why is because most times the woman may be asked to refund the bride price paid on her head by the man. And when that is done, it is deemed that that marriage has died a natural death, or that marriage can no longer exist between the parties. But nobody seems to ask the question of what next? What compensation should also be given to the woman? Well, all toes towards a direction. And that direction, to my mind, seems to be that Africa is a man's world. But when you look at marriage under the Act, and marriage under the Act seem also to favor the woman, because even upon the issuance of the certificate, particularly where the marriage is conducted in the church, and I've also witnessed marriages under the Act in a ministry of what do you call this ministry now? Interior. Okay. Is it Ministry of Interior? Yes, correct. Ministry of Interior. I've witnessed some of them. Even the issuance of the certificate is to the woman. She's given to keep the certificate. What that simply means is that the certificate is her property. You get it? And the certificate also is a license for her protection. So, we're saying, anytime that there is...
So the certificate is a weapon of defense?
Yes, for our protection.
Okay.
So when there is, maybe that's why in some situations where there is crisis between the parties, you see the woman talking louder because she seems to have the weapon of protection in her custody.
Under the statutory act.
Under the marriage under the act, or what is called, also called statutory marriage. So you cannot say that there is a divide. Marriage under the Act seems to favor the woman. Marriage under native law and custom seems to favor the man. Then when we have a situation where both parties contract marriage under the Act and marriage under native law and custom, we have made to understand that the marriage under the Act seems to swallow the marriage under native law and custom. And that is why in such situation where there is dispute and they choose to go to court, the court now has jurisdiction over that matter, and the question of marriage under native law and custom will not arise. So dispute resolution, the court can now look at it and see how, based on the facts before the court, evaluate same and come up with an appropriate or a proper judgment.
Okay. We'll take a short break. Do stay. Good to have you join us once more. The program is Law and You, and I am Philip Omo-Gupon. I still have the legal practitioner with me, Emmanuel Obakpolo. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Well, let's look at another aspect where it could be considered in the direction of the welfare of the children, for instance, and taking a child outside wedlock. Can we say such a child can also enjoy such proportionate support from the laws?
Yes, it depends. It is yes, and it is also no. Now, marriage contracted under the Act, where the child is gotten before that marriage, what the man needs to do is what the law refers to as acknowledgement. He needs to acknowledge that child to his spouse and family members. And where he doesn't, such child could be deemed illegitimate. But in our setting, particularly the African atmosphere, no child is illegitimate. No child. Particularly where a man, after contracting marriage under the Act or statutory marriage, and goes outside to carry out what I call
extramarital.
No, what I call satellite campuses, and have other children. The question now will be, will those children be legitimate children?
Would they enjoy the rights?
Would they enjoy such rights? The answer also is a yes and a no. But the man must have acknowledged those children in the presence of members of his family.
So acknowledgement is the basis for giving them that right, for them to be endowed with.
Yes, is the qualification.
Otherwise, they won't be able
They remain whoever they are. Yes.
But you said under the African setting, for instance,
no child is illegitimate. And by virtue of the provision of Section 42,
but shouldn't that be also the way forward? Because if we are to look at reforms in the direction of giving rights to children, it isn't the blame wouldn't be on the child if the father refuses to acknowledge. And so by virtue of that, shouldn't there be reforms in our laws where, whether by acknowledgement or not, as long as a child is born and is determined to see that the child is the father is the biological father of such a child, shouldn't that be the way forward for reforms? The question so that the child can enjoy the rights, whether being acknowledged or not.
The question would be, how do you determine whether the child is the biological child of that person, particularly where the person is deceased?
DNA test, of course, we have that.
You see the process. However, Section 42, subsection 2 of the extant Nigerian Constitution prohibits the illegitimacy of any person.
Exactly.
Of any person. You cannot, by his state of birth or statute, now determine the legitimacy or illegitimacy of
or deny the child of
his rights. You cannot by that. But you know,
so we have such laws. Is that
yes, Section 42, subsection 2. It guarantees the safety of that child.
So in a situation where a father, for instance, denies such a child acknowledgement, can that child exercise such litigation in court?
Yes, and it is going to be.
Can that child exercise such right?
That child can. But you know the process that the child is going to go through, because there's going to be a lot of hurdles for him to cross, particularly where the people begin to ask so many questions. Who are you? Where did you come from? Who is your mother? Where is your mother? How did you get to know so and so and so is your father? Okay, if that is the case, let us go and do DNA test. And you know that process must first be completed, must first be determined before you cannot say, okay, is a legitimate child of our brother.
Okay, but
so that a stranger will not come and claim legitimacy where he ought not to belong to that family.
Okay, are you bringing a consideration where the man could be deceased?
Yes, that's where the man is deceased.
Otherwise, if the man is not
deceased,
is
not deceased,
it's just a wrong DNA test.
Yes,
if he denies it.
It is even the paternity question of that child will be from the man and not from anyone else. But where the paternity question, where the man is deceased, the paternity question will now come from members of the family and probably the wife. And you know the woman must ask that question.
But when we have a challenge where the man refuses to acknowledge or recognize that the child, he is the legitimate father of such a child, what happens?
Thank God for science, DNA will solve the question. That the question of the legitimacy of that child or the paternity.
Is the man bound by any obligation to surrender himself for a DNA? Doesn't he have the right
he must
to refuse?
As long as the child says, you are my father, and the child gives reasons that will bring the question of who owns this child from the evidence presented by the child, the man is bound to subject himself.
How? How is he bound? By the virtue of the fact that the so-called son is saying that he is the father?
Yes.
Peradventure now denies. I said, I'm not your father.
How can he?
So what could happen to make the man to be bound by the act and surrender himself for a paternity test?
The child could go to court.
Exactly.
Constitute an action in court against the supposed father. And the court will grant his request for a paternity test, that the man should subject himself to DNA test to determine the paternity of the child. He has that right.
I said that to say this because most times we have such strong-headed men that will say whether no matter whose ox is God, they will want to go through that test because probably they know themselves that they must have committed one act or the other that brought about such incidents, you know. But going forward, what could be the reforms? Like a challenge where some have raised, a question that was raised. If the woman, for instance, suffers neglect emotionally, could the court also address that aspect where compensations can be made for the woman who was neglected by the spouse, even though after the remedy has been done, comes in and takes care of the financial obligation? But what about the emotional neglect? Can such a woman seek redress in court in that direction?
Yes. Like I did say, the Violent Against Persons Prohibition Acts provide for that. I know that could be that is criminal. It means that the man is going to go through a criminal trial
for a man to leave his wife.
Yes.
For allowing her to go through such emotional trauma.
Yes.
The man could be charged for it.
Yes. And
not abandoning financially or the financial burden, no. Just emotional, as in abandoning her, not even sleeping with her.
Emotionally. The woman
can the man be charged to court for that?
Yes, he can be charged. It's an abandonment. He can be charged. If you know that you just keep her and you don't want it, what you need to do, you file for divorce. You file for divorce.
So it's the responsibility of the man to play his role as a
responsible father.
Otherwise, if he fails to play his role, the woman can sue.
Yes, as a responsible father or a responsible husband, you need to do the need.
What if the man says he's not in the mood?
It's not in the mood. Then file for divorce.
Never in the mood to be close to the woman.
Then file for divorce, and not to just keep her and abandon her. And probably, and you know, in such situation where emotionally you abandon the other spouse, then the possibility of abandoning her financially is also there. Is that it must be tied to it. Every form of responsibility that you ought to take with respect to the spouse, you withdraw them and neglect the spouse.
We've seen men. You know, we can't place a number on it, but let's say majority or 50% of men, or less than that, anyways, that go about on extramarital relationships, even when they know that they are married to the woman legally under the act. what does the law have to say in such situations where men, go denigrate their marriage vows and go into extramarital relationships, affairs? Does the law frown at such?
Frowns at it, and it's clear, very, very clear. The only thing is that if the woman does not cry out, who knows? Who will hear it? So not until
it takes the woman to
cry out. And by crying out,
and show evidence.
Yes, by crying out
that the husband has a side chick. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Not another woman in put in a matrimonial will. We're looking at just a side chick. There's no
satellite campus.
Of course, yes. So which means the man can't do that.
Yes. The woman can.
The law frowns against the man to have extramarital relationship.
Wow. That is bigamy. It's the offense of bigamy. So the woman can institute an action against the man.
What could be the
find? In our setting, just like I did say, that this African atmosphere favors the man, so it presents a man's world. But then the law has made provisions for remedy to cushion such steps taken by the man.
It's left for the women to take actions on these laws.
But the question again is, how many of them have that orientation?
But exactly why the program is here.
Yes.
Exactly why we have such a program, to give them such orientation and let them know their right. But if you know your right as a citizen, as a woman, then it equips you to defend yourself legally.
But you know,
looking at the challenges you are facing in your matrimonial home.
But you know, some persons could even look at programs like this and say, let me put it in our local parlance. Don't mind them, they just want to spare marriages. You hear people waiting that they talk there now, just now. Some persons could, particularly the men folk, will frown at that and say, what are they talking about? Don't mind them, they are jobless people. What is law? You understand? But most women are going through hell even in their matrimonial home.
All right.
Maybe because they don't have the orientation. 1. 2, maybe because their family background. 3, maybe because they just want to keep the marriage at all costs.
Thank you. Thank you, Emmanuel Obapolo. Thank you so much. I'm afraid there's much we can take on today's episode. Well, this is just to equip you with the laws as a weapon that you have, as your rights, that any situation you find yourself that seems to be unfavorable in your matrimony, you equip yourself with these opportunities given by the law to seek redress in court and make sure that you get justice. We have various institutions, under the ADRO. We also have the court, under the Statutory Act, that can also help to marshal such, considerations in order for you to get justice. So if you have any challenges, it's just for you to approach the court, and then that can be done. But before we go, how can such a process be started in 30 seconds?
If it is under the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act or the Criminal Code or Penal Code, as the case may be, is to report the matter to the police.
Okay.
And the police investigate and charge.
Or you get a lawyer. When can a lawyer come in?
A lawyer is when you want to institute the matter in court under Civil Matrimonial Causes Act, under matrimonial causes. So you approach a lawyer who will now help to institute the matter in court.
All right, thank you. This is a very huge topic and very sensitive at that. We will continue to interrogate it to make sure that you get justice in this direction. I am Philip Omo Bupong. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Many thanks for joining me on this week's edition of the program Environment Watch on Independent Television. I'm Sonny Duke Okosun. Every week, we bring you stories on the environment so you can take action to protect, to preserve, and to conserve the environment. Let's go. A new study reveals that for the first time, areas of Canada's boreal peatlands damaged by oil and gas exploration have failed to recover as scientists and companies predicted, and instead led to a tripling of their methane emissions with global implications. Long parts called seismic lines are cut into the landscape to accommodate surveying equipment. Researchers from the Faculty of Environment at the University of Waterloo measured methane gas from plant stems or the soil surface. They discovered that methane emissions in seismic lines were 300% higher in the bogs and were close to 200 in the fens compared to emissions from undisturbed sections of peatland. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas that traps heat in the atmosphere. And as global warming accelerates, changing conditions in boreal peatlands will increase the rate of climate change and the scale of its devastating effects. The impact is already unprecedented, with the network of seismic lines in Alberta extensive enough to wrap around the Earth 9 times. Similar damage occurs across the boreal regions in the United States, Russia, and of course the Scandinavian. The Nigerian Navy has frustrated renewed attempts by economic saboteurs to re-establish illegal refining operations in Rivers State. This is contained in an operational report by the Director of Naval Information, Captain Abiodun Folorunsho, on Sunday, June 14, 2026, in Abuja. According to Folorunsho, the operation was carried out by personnel of the Nigerian Navy ship NNS Pathfinder under Operation Delta Sentinel. He revealed that during the operation, naval personnel uncovered 2 illegal refining sites comprising 8 dug-out pits and reservoirs containing approximately 15,000 liters of suspected stolen crude oil and 105,000 liters of suspected illegally refined automotive gas oil, AGO. Time, independent laboratory testing commissioned by the African Center for Biodiversity, ACB, has found that pesticide residues are widespread in commonly consumed foods sold in South African supermarkets, including staple foods, fresh fruits and vegetables, and several products intended for infants and young children. The findings are set out in a new briefing based on independent South African National Accreditation System, SANA's accredited laboratory analysis of 43 everyday food products purchased between November 2025 and January 2026. The briefing presents verifiable residue data and examines how those findings compare with South African Codex Alimentarius, European Union, and default regulatory benchmarks. Importantly, the briefing does not allege unlawful conduct by food producers or retailers, nor does it seek to quantify individual health risks. It provides an evidence base to inform public discussion and regulatory review of pesticide residues in food. Key findings include 1.86% of products tested contained at least one detectable pesticide residue on the applied analytical panels. 2. Multiple residues were common, with 37 different pesticide active ingredients detected across the sample set. One widely consumed tomato sauce contained 14 different residues. 13 highly hazardous pesticides, HHPS, substances internationally recognized for their intrinsic toxicity, were detected in 26 individual instances, including staple foods and foods consumed by children. 13 product pesticide combinations exceeded at least one applicable regulatory maximum residue limit or benchmarks, including South African MRLS, EU limits, Codex standards, or the default precautionary level of 0.01 milligram per kilogram. Join us, you're watching Environment Watch on Independent Television. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll bring you more stories. Please stay. Joining us on Environment Watch on Independent Television, where we'll bring you up-to-date information that you need to know on what you can do to protect, preserve, and of course conserve the environment. And I'm your host, Sonny Duke Okosun. The Ebola outbreak caused by the Bundibugyo virus continues to expand in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, with the health authorities reporting rising infections and deaths as regional response efforts intensify. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, the DRC had recorded 676 confirmed cases and 136 deaths as of June 10, 2026. Health officials say the outbreak is evolving rapidly with increasing case numbers and wider geographic spread. Uganda has also reported cases linked to the outbreak in the DRC. As of June 11, the country had confirmed 19 cases, including 2 deaths, as well as 1 probable case that resulted in death. WHO said Uganda's outbreak remains epidemiologically linked to transmission originating in the DRC, with evidence of both imported infections and secondary transmission among contact and healthcare workers. However, Ugandan authorities have not reported any new cases in the past 6 days, suggesting that ongoing containment measures may be helping to slow the spread of the disease. National authorities in both countries, working with WHO and other partners, are implementing a comprehensive response that includes surveillance, contact tracing, laboratory testing, case management, infection prevention and control measures, risk communication, and community engagement. Our regional preparedness and prioritization framework is also guiding readiness activities across Africa to reduce the risk of further spread. Health experts continue to stress the importance of early detection and rapid isolation of suspected cases and strict adherence to infection prevention protocols. Bundibugyo virus is one of the species of Ebola virus that causes Ebola disease in humans. The disease can lead to severe illness and death, with symptoms including fever, fatigue, muscle pain, headache, vomiting, and diarrhea. Negotiations at the SB64 Climate Change Conference reached their midpoint in Bonn. The least developed countries LDC group has issued a stark warning: climate change is no longer a looming threat but a lived reality that is eroding development gains and pushing vulnerable nations to the brink. Speaking at a conference on Friday, June 12, 2026, Ambassador Adao Suarez Barbosa, Special Envoy and Ambassador at the Large for Climate Affairs for Timor-Leste and Chair of the LDC Group, underscored the urgency facing the 44 countries that make up the bloc. Despite contributing least to global greenhouse gas emissions, he said LDCs shoulder a disproportionate share of the consequences from intensifying climate impacts to mounting economic pressure. On the ongoing conference on climate change in Bonn, in a press conference on Friday, the Executive Director of Connected Advocacy, talking about Israel Orecha, amongst other stakeholders, have called on countries with the highest pollution to ensure that other countries who have lower emissions do not feel more of the impact and the pangs of global emission, with the challenges relating to greenhouse gas emissions and, of course, climate change. Meantime, stakeholders have called on stronger collaboration among government agencies, media organizations, civil society groups, and communities to address climate-induced flooding and environmental degradation across Nigeria. The call was made during the monthly climate hangout in Kaduna, where scientists, environmentalists, researchers, journalists, among others, came together to discuss and learn more about climate change and ways to prevent or mitigate its effects. A lecturer from the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources Engineering, Kaduna Polytechnic, Mrs. Halima Haruna, described rain as both a blessing and a revealer of environmental neglect. According to her, rainfall naturally supports farming, vegetation, and livestock, but also exposes the damaging effects of poor environmental practices carried out before the rainy season. Haruna said practices such as indiscriminate waste disposal, environmental pollution, and open defecation contributed to flooding and contamination of water sources during rainfall. She explained that many residents were unaware of the environmental consequences of their daily activity. Change, land use, and water use are significantly altering the global freshwater cycle at an increasing pace. This produces more widespread and frequent dry and wet periods, pushing freshwater systems further beyond its planetary boundary, according to a new study published in Nature Communications, led by researchers at the University of Eastern Finland, with contributions from Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research, PIK. The study provides an updated assessment of the planetary boundary for freshwater change and identifies the key drivers of its accelerating transgression at both global and regional scales. The findings show that climate change, together with large-scale land and water use, is pushing the freshwater cycle further away from stable state as defined by the planetary boundary for freshwater change. This boundary is already considered to be transgressed, reflecting a long-term trend that jeopardizes the freshwater cycle's ability to support vital climate and ecological earth system processes. Using data from 1901 to 2019 and an ensemble of global hydrological models, the researchers analyzed quantitative changes in both blue water in rivers, lakes, and groundwater, and green water in soils around the world, distinguishing between the effects of human activities through the land and water use and the effects through human-induced climate change on dry and wet land anomalies. Urban planning needs to tackle greenhouse gas emissions, and an important way to achieve this is by reducing the number and length of car commuters. This can be achieved primarily by ensuring that homes are located close to city centers and workplaces, so that well-targeted building densification becomes a critical lever. Citywide population density and transport links are of secondary importance. These are the findings of a new study in Environmental Research Letters led by the
asked that state parties should open their political and public space for the participation of persons with disability. And that was also ratified by the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act of 2018. But what do we have? I think that as we tinker with our Constitution, we have had the Fifth Amendment, and of course, the National Assembly is also making move to further come with amendment. I think we need to have seats reserved for persons with disability. It's not enough to come up and say by political parties, where for some of them will say...
But they say power is not served a la carte.
Well, we are talking about representation.
Of course, of course.
Government must be seen to be protective of the weakest, of the minority, of the vulnerable. And a minimum standard. Why are women asking for a 35% affirmative reserve for them?
Women?
For why are they asking that certain seats should be, 1/3 of the seats should be reserved for women participation? That's why I said that the youth, of course we have, power is not served a la carte, but we have the not too young to run be speaking to the participation of youth. But why are we not having something specifically directed at persons with disability, protecting their representative rights in the executive and in the legislative arm of
sorry for cutting
that
in. Without mentioning any political party, I heard over the news that a particular political party has mentioned that as part of their policy,
women and persons with disability who want to contest under their platform will be giving their expression of interest free at a very minimal discount.
I say that is tokenism. That is just, that's playing to the gallery. It's like, oh, the Kingsley Okojen has the money to buy the form, and I do not have, and we are contesting for the same position. You have paid for the form, and I've given the form free. Who do you think the party will hand over the tickets to? The one that did not pay to contest, and the one that paid for it. Until they make such persons their candidate to say, okay, we have reserved because this person have indicated interest, this party is presenting this person to run for that seat, then there's no guarantee. And even where parties are willing to do that, what is the assurance that other parties will follow suit? So I think the way to go is to have our constitution amended, to have a represent, and it is done in all democracies.
Like in Uganda, for instance.
Yes, in Uganda, even in Iran, in Iran and in Iraq, for instance, I know very well, which is an Arab nation. They have certain seats for the, reserved for the Christian population, a certain percentage, right? That is an Islamic country, and so we see that everywhere that certain group must have some level of protection. That is not all they should have, but at least we shouldn't have a 360 National Assembly members with no one representing the disability community and issues. Like I said, we are not just only a community, we are a constituent, and our issues should be so serious. So I think that we will do more to amend our constitution to guarantee some level of protection. That way, it will be a far cry for disability representation. You look at the executive, you talk about women, you talk about youth. How many governor or president have in their cabinet a one with a disability holding a substantive position, apart from what they try to do sometimes, having an SSA on disability matters?
All right. But very quickly, in 30 seconds, I've known you over the years. I've seen people in politics and in governance. I don't think some of them have some of the qualifications that you have to contest. Looking at the future, are you considering? I hope you know what I'm saying. Are you considering contesting for any elected position? Because I know you are more than qualified, more than qualified than some of the persons I see out there. Would you consider that?
Not for the moment.
Yes.
We'll see what the future holds. But
because I'm preparing to be your campaign manager.
Thank you so much for offering that. But I actually want to see that our system change, and our democracy, our electoral process have such integrity that people will believe participating will not be shortchanged.
All right, this is a wrap on the program today. Such an interesting conversation, always with the Executive Director, Navid Melody Omosa Esquire. It is our hope that as our country's democracy continue to evolve, that disability participation will become more inclusive and accessible for persons with disability. My name is Kingsley Okoje. Spot the hitch and be a voice. Goodbye.
ITV, certainly the best.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of Youth Perspective on Independent Television. I am your host, Lydia Azuka, and today we'll be talking about social media. We want to see how it is building our future or destroying the youth. Now, to help us unpack this important topic, I have three amazing guests with me in the studio today. Good day, all.
Good day.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Ekis Olumese. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for coming.
My name is Perfect Totagami. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
And I'm Udoku Onochie Gabriel.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay, those are my guests on today's episode. It's going to be an interesting one. You don't want to go anywhere. Remember, you can watch us live on our website at www.itvradioNG.com, and do well to follow all our social media platforms at ITV Radio NG. Now, let's get right into the business of the day. Social media has become an important part of our modern life. Now, over to you, Ekis. Has social media destroyed the youth, or has it impacted the youth so far?
Okay, thank you very much. Before I answer that question, I'd like to throw more light on what social media is all about.
Go on.
Social media are digital platform that is used to create, share, and disseminate information, educational experience, and people are able to communicate with each other. But the basic thing is that social media is a tool. And as a tool, I'll go right to answer your question. Social media is neither building the future or destroying the future. It is based on its usage. It is based on the one that is using social media. So social media can take you as a ladder to success, or it can bring you down. So it depends on how you are able to use it. If you use it well, you get the benefit. If you don't use it well, you get the disadvantage of it. So I believe that social media on its own is not like I said, is a technology, and as a tool, you are the one to use it. If you use it well, it's going to benefit you. If you don't use it well, you have the other part of it. So there are other benefits that we can talk about during the course of the show. But for now, social media is neither building the future or destroying it. It is based on the values that people have.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that answer. Over to you, Perfect. Same question. What do you think social media has done to young people in this generation?
I think social media in itself, it's an opportunity created to broaden the horizons of mankind, so to speak, through artificial intelligence, connecting the entire world together in a particular space where everybody from different continents, without leaving the comfort of your place, to communicate with each other. So I would say it destroys and builds at the same time, because it's relative to the person that is making use of it at the time.
Amazing. Yeah. And to you, Gabriel, the question still remains the same. Go on.
So for me, I think I'll sit on the fence, because the matter of social media is highly subjective, right? And it still depends on the user and the usage. Because social media, for some people, has been that platform whereby they've been able to earn a living. While for others, they are just addicted to social media. That's why I said we cannot categorically say that social media has done more harm than good, but that's why I'm pretty much deciding to sit on the fence, because while others can consider that social media has done harm, that same social media platform is still doing good and helping people to improve their standard of living and all of that.
Amazing. Now, you talked about social media doing harm. I'm still coming back to you. How much harm do you think social media has done to the youth these days?
Okay, the matter on social media now, we have a lot of younger ones who are not supposed to be on this platform. Most of these people hide and watch pornography. This leads to addiction. So being addicted to watching porn and so many other things could lead to, improper usage of this app. So in that aspect, I just used pornography as an example. In that aspect, so yes, social media causes harm.
Okay, Ekis, this question goes to you. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom has placed a ban on social media for teenagers below 16 years. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a good idea?
Well, I don't think that social media should be banned totally.
Okay.
You know, because apart from the harm that you think it does, there are also benefits. You know, so the most important thing should be proper management. There should be guidance, because everyone is responsible to ensure that our teenagers, they are able to follow the path of righteousness when it comes to using social media. You know, so that's where the place of management, that's where the place of monitoring comes. I know there are issues where most teenagers, they are more knowledgeable when it comes to their parents may not know most of the things that they know. You understand?
Yeah.
And so if they are able to outsmart their parents, you know, so in this AI generation, you know, it's not only for the youth, it's also for the adults, so that they can monitor. You know, in phones, there are this thing that you can put, what do you call it?
Parental control.
Parental control.
Yeah.
You can control the screen time of your children. You know, so they can be monitored, they can be checked. You know, because there are also benefits. If you ban them totally, I don't think that is right.
Okay.
I think they should be given an opportunity and they should be monitored.
Okay, perfect. Do you agree with him?
Well, I think for this current generation, this Gen Z generation, that is very subjective to the child that is using the phone.
Exactly.
Because you now have highly intelligent children that are way more intelligent than their parents. So even if you employ this parental control, do this and do whatever you need to do as a guideline to keep them safe from whatever is killing them. Well, so to say, I'll ascribe it as a relative responsible way of wasting your time. Because why? These children, they allow you to satisfy your responsibility, the urges of your responsibility as a parent. And when you're done with it, they still go through a back door. There's a back door in every social media. And most of these children already know that.
Wow.
If they're knowledgeable to use social media for themselves, they already know the back door that most parents don't know about.
Wow.
So I see it as more an aspect that can be used to culture them. What I mean is, instead of restricting these children, you can teach them to use the knowledge for something better.
Okay, moving on. Gabriel, I want to ask you about social media influencers. Do you think they have a responsibility in like influencing young people now, like being role models to young people online?
Of course they do. They have 100% of that responsibility to make sure that what they are putting out has a lot to do to change the lives of the younger ones viewing them positively.
Amazing.
Because as a content creator or as a social media influencer, the kind of content that you put out should be that kind of content that helps people, that encourages people to want to do better in their daily activities. Because as an influencer having 1.something million followers, of course, people are monitoring how you do your thing. People are noticing the kind of content that you put out there. So yes, 100%, they do have that responsibility of putting out the right content to encourage people that view their work.
Amazing, amazing. So now, Ekis, I want to ask you, what practical skills do you think young people can learn on social media?
Okay. Practical skills that young people can learn. You know, through the coming of artificial intelligence, a lot of persons have been able to learn, and they have been able to make use of it to become richer, in the sense that in their automated system, which you can learn and develop skills. You can use it to create videos, animation and all that, pictures, you know, and you can see it on Facebook, on Twitter. So many persons are making money because of their creativity. You know, you can just develop a story and use AI So there was one I was watching that has to do with Uzo and all that. Very interesting. And they have so many views. Now that particular youth is making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Through the use of AI. Is making a lot of money. You know, so through social media, you can also become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know, you can use it to promote your business. Through religious activity, social media has also benefit a lot of religious outfits. You know, there are churches that are there that nobody would have known. There's through social media.
Yeah.
You know, and there are businesses that were promoted through social media.
Yeah.
You know, and there are youths that are so talented that, okay, somebody like Jarvis. Somebody like Jarvis.
Yeah.
You know, she has a talent.
Yeah.
If not for social media, where we shall be.
That's right.
You know, so you can see that social media has brought a lot of persons to the limelight. You know, so it depends, like I said initially, it depends on how you are able to put it to use.
Amazing.
So that's what matters.
Amazing. Perfect. Do you want to answer the question, what skills do you think young people can create through social media?
I think the platform of social media is wide. It's like unlocking the 100% of the human brain, which is technically impossible, but made possible through artificial intelligence. So there's so many things that an individual can use social media for, but the end result of all these things is just two things: popularity and money.
Amazing.
So a child or an adult can either become an influencer. Yeah. It can become a star. And you can't be a star if you are not using social media.
Of course.
That's true. Yes. And that's the reason why most artists that we had before are no longer visible, because the ones that are trending now are the ones that people, even smaller children, can see
on social media.
So yes, I think if I'm to start calling the different workforce that social media provides for humans,
young people,
it's going to be very wide.
Amazing. Amazing. Gabriel, do you want to answer the question?
A whole lot that you get to learn on social media. We look at likes of digital marketing, AI animation. You know, life now, you know, is being made easier for people to carry out tasks, and like I stated earlier, or you know, social media now has turned to that platform where people get to earn a living. So yes, I believe that there's a whole lot of things that people can learn, a whole lot of skills that people can learn using social media.
Amazing, amazing. Well, it has been an exciting discussion so far. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, more to unpack. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Youth Perspective on Independent Television, and today we're talking about social media and its vices. I have with me still in the studio 3 amazing guests helping me unpack this important topic. Okay, moving on, we're going to have a rapid fire round. I'm going to be asking my guests 1 question each, and they just have to answer me with 1 answer. Are you ready, guys?
Okay.
Okay, let's go. So 1 word answer, yeah? Okay, social media in 1 word.
Social media is amazing.
Awesome. Perfect. 1 word.
Broad.
Broad. Amazing. I love that. Gabriel, 1 word.
Opportunity.
Opportunity. That's amazing. Yeah. Okay, another fire round. Biggest benefit of social media. 1 word, please.
Success.
Success. Amazing. Perfect.
Finance.
Finance.
You don't say honestly. So I've been making emphasis on money making.
So 1 word, Gabriel.
Viral.
Viral. I love it. Another rapid round. Biggest danger of social media.
Cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying. That's an amazing word. Perfect.
I think defamation.
Sorry?
Defamation.
Defamation. Defamation of character. Amazing. Gabriel?
And addiction would be the word.
Addiction. Wow. That's a big danger. Okay, so should teenagers have screen time limits? That's the question now, Ekis. Should teenagers have screen time limits?
Yes, they should.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
Gabriel?
A very big yes.
A very big yes. Okay. Can someone become successful without social media today? Can someone become successful without social media today, Ekis?
I doubt.
You doubt? Okay, perfect.
100%.
100%. Okay. Wait, 100% yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, someone can become successful without social media today.
Yes.
Amazing. In this digital world.
100% yes.
Okay, Gabriel, let's hear you.
We're in a digital world now. Even churches are creating content. So, so no.
Amazing answers. So as we wrap up, I would like you all to share a piece of advice to young people watching you today. Ekis.
Thank you so much. Can be used to attain the highest height of success. You know, so ensure that you use it. Ensure that you have the right value. You know, so social media.
Well,
I'll try to keep my advice very short and impactful, right? Social media never forgets, right? So ensure that you use it for the right reasons, right? Look at apps like Twitter, that's X. They just never forget. The streets of Twitter never forget what you have done in the past. Use social media for the right reasons, and to my young ones out there, make sure to reduce your screen. Very much.
Well, viewers, you've heard it all. They've said it all. Social media can be impactful and it can be dangerous for you, depending on how you use it.
Yeah.
It has been Youth Perspective on Independent Television. Please do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at ITV Radio NG. And remember, I am your host, Lydia Azuka. And until next time, bye for now.
ITV, certainly the best.
The new Edion expressed excitement as he danced and rejoiced before the Esama of Benin, Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Osawori Benedion, who also joined in the dance. As visiting and paying of homage to various homes of senior elders continued, the initiates spent 7 days performing diverse kinds of rites as required by tradition. They were furnished with rules and regulations regarding their new office as Edion.
That I grew up in this community.
Regulations regarding their new office as Edion.
That I grew up in this community to the point that they have now also chosen me as an elder in this community. It's a thing of great joy. All thanks to the Esama of Benin, my people, my family, everybody, all Okada community for this great honor. I am very, very grateful.
Well, this is my brother. I'll call him my uncle because he grew up with my father. I'm so proud of him because we are doing the same rituals as the Edions of the Okada. It is our duty for us to make this place a greater place, for outsiders to come and see the goodness of God in Okada. And I'm proud of every one of us here. So shall it be to each and every one of us in Jesus' name.
Odion ma Okada zima Esama zima dion Ebuna zima dion Obala zima dion Manawe Mari Esama dion na Nimado Pom Esama Nimado Beken Esama Emana dio Warena Esama Magbeken Osaba Obuyo Bitone Aba No get Tony Maga Not ya me magame. Manido bekene de na ima yafe ima ato. Ima agbo. Oro pa ewu dori. Ima ati awogene. O be ti agbo ya no we me magame. We need just to know me afa.
In this summer in our father's house, in respect of our initiation to elders at young level, also pray for long life and prosperity.
The climax, after 7 days, was paying of homage again to the Odion way, where he gave the initiate the full rights to function and to henceforth participate in meetings with Edion. It will go down in the history and minds of Okada community with the 2025 initiation into the Edion Council of former Governor of Edo State, Chief Lucky Nosagari Igbenedion, his brothers Bright Ayamekwe Igbenedion, Honorable Charles Osenwige Igbenedion, Peter Osawari Igbenedion, Dr. Fred Osawuni Igbenedion, Barrister Mike Osawani Igbenedion, Executive Director Operations, ITV and Radio, Chief Elder Ogbedion Wonse, Honorable Efosa Douglas Igbenedion, Ukponwa Igbenedion, Osawe Igbenedion,
Omonomba Nedo Ukwakwalokpolo Ewai II, Oba of Benin, performing during the 2025 Ododua Festival. Ododua Festival is unique as it was organized in honor of Ioba Omoni Hwoyeme, Ioba Ewai II, as part of activities for her burial rites. The rich traditions and cultural heritage of the Benin Kingdom was showcased when His Royal Majesty Ewai II engaged the floor to perform during Ugie Ododua in the palace ground in Benin City. In the dance performance, the Ogbelaka Royal Drummers supplied the needed impetus and rhythm for the dance. However, tributes are paid by the head of Benin deities to the monarch, who was the cynosure at the event. The event can best be imagined as the spiritual rejuvenation, stunned, spectaculars and guests at the colorful ceremony. 7 masquerades representing 7 spirits and deities conveyed different meaning in company with the head of the deities of Benin with thee in his dance steps.
rese eniwa donopewo warida hima makaba pon wa sense ubota pe makaga ya ke ya ye na agbon me gboma ke na abete uyo webo katikate uyo ma na do ni malelewe ni na ya mawe to ha o ma me ro o ha mo na gbon ro we no sale bwa ya gbon ma yinu kan ya fe ubota na mbeke na le ma ye de bo ke ase de ma le wo wi yin ese ma yu no we kan na ya wi bude so benia o ke de na ni wa ni ma gun aka o no ya gba pe e haro wo gba o ge ugie ni arioba awe yoko ya se ya ni Nigeria pe haro we ogba oye na 27 years oye na ni Nigeria army oni yoko awe Nigeria ya sare oba ni ma we ni ki maaro ena ya ma agwa kan ya na ogwa agwa ore ma lo tan pastor Calvary unamure
iwe dunowo me wa be benege kai wa bi tota wa bi dayo ofo igbo saro bago wa yaro oba atokpe
ise ore ma lo tan Victor Ebizugbe
dono ayire wa haro pa ebe boya wu wa yi wedro so na pere ni Jesu o ma ko ma na wu wa wu baba na o gota ma me ma gbo ka me ma ri gbe bo bi yoku no do ma ga mi ma ye mi lo oba atokpe
se me sa bo se nje no bi ero no ri edo ba yo ka o edo ya fe ke na lo ka gbe o ye o ya o tagbon ya gbege to ya ọba atọpẹ
ise
eni mawu ma gba kan ni wa ari egbo be ibi yokore Nigeria ma re kede do ade na ri egbe ibi yokore Nigeria de la o da ni ma eni do lo wa no ro ma se de hiya i ogi ma ruwo die ka ti ma ruwo da ìwé lọ́wọ́ ò tó sọ́rọ̀ ẹ̀wò ní ìlú ìmá ẹ̀ ní ìlú ìmá yóò dé sí à ìwé náà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀wò wọ́n yẹ ẹ̀ máa yìí ló ká ìrìn òbò wọ́n ní wọn ẹ̀ ní àmìkè náà ẹ̀ wẹ̀ ó pé ẹ̀há rọ́wọ́ gbọ̀n ẹ̀yìn kiri ó pé ẹ̀rọ gbọ̀n ìyókòrè ìyàdókàn ìyàrá yàfẹ́ àmì àníga àrọ̀ yàfẹ́ màmí yẹn aláwọ̀ ma àdówó èvótì àdóbí ẹ̀wò là òtún ẹ̀ òṣèré wò ní Nàìjíríà ìnáyàfẹ́ màá yé màá rè ọ̀tẹ́nẹ́rẹ́ pásọ̀ Calvary unamure wùwá rẹ̀ ẹ̀ ìrẹ̀ òtún ọwọ́ sọ̀rọ̀ wò kébẹ̀ ìgbìnàdóná nádọ́rẹ̀ pẹ́dùwẹ̀ báwò kìnnàyéná ìmàyéná.
Domo wesi
obuka
domo sa ikaka bo gitu wa do no pe o ni ka re gitu wa sin we wa be me kai eme no kai me o kare oba owo tebu ma oge Nigeria ma ya gwa kan ara bi omo na ga nwa e ne ka setting osun ra be we bo nwa ne omo ga igba opiwe va ne baba egi obi omomo okin abon na ibe ka mewe sai me won so para igba opiwe ba na yari tota oje ne bi egbe yo bi egbe agwale mi no rewo amayi ka won na abo aka ri tokun mi upe hairo rogma no yin onya ugie ma je na yari egbe yo be isogiare omo na bi ebe uponi ona we ukpe hairo rogma obukana yeye na eso won do ne
ya bia ne also ya wa won do
o ma mari bie orupe hairo rogma ana do mi ewe ori owo do ne ba ri yo egi obuka ana do mi ewe ukpe hairo rogma ori je na ni mari egbe bo be sogi awe magari setting suwon enia ana ri egbe obe sogi awe sebo na ni ma maga ye seti dole inia ni maga ye gbe kian obo kana omodo ona ga abo kana we ipede kesugie ame upe kesugie oyeje na ona yin omodo ne ke ba pa eni omo kan ori pase a enwon momo ise a enwon mo kan ise yen so awe mi oku oba adele he we owo kana wane so pa no kan ye wi mana ọmọ maya gbabu pé eharo ọgbọ́n rade me ma mi aluga ọ̀nà ma so pé ki e ko ye ne ogi magidi eni magi eni ye e ba ni logi ba se e ba ko no wegbe ose e ba lagi alagu yeke okaka boro ọba atope
ise osaloba alawo na egi ma la yeke
ise irun gini ki
ehun no ami ona gboro ni na lawo da e ma ni alapo ba ko be ye ko sun e be ye ko we na ya ma we se ye ni ma wa we he ma upo ni ma so ye wi ma o wa ni ma bo lo be na ya du ko e wo we oge ulima ko ke oge simu na ya pe be na awe o lapa he eyuna ewune be ewune ewu ya se ìwìnà ọ̀rẹ́ òwázígó ìgò nà mìíràn àwà tí ẹwò rí ẹ àwà emọ́tò ẹ̀yìn àná nàìjíríà ẹwòyà ayádọ́ agẹ́ kìsì ẹwòyà agẹ́ lórí mayes ó fi gbọ́n ní màmẹ́ ọ̀pọ̀gbẹ̀nẹ̀ ẹ̀ màkìrẹ̀ the whole world ọ̀tàgbọ̀n ya fẹ́rẹ́ ìmáyè kàṣẹ́ máa wà lù ẹ ẹ̀wọ̀n èrè ìwé láti yẹyẹ máa mú yọ deni amata lo ya adweni ya fera alauda orora bi alauda oro wo ye ni maye na ni wan ya yo se gbi ma wana lo se gbe o tu so rewo na fi wo re cda na fi yo ba ri we ge na e gbina rewo ba ge e ba gbina se ya se gbodon we ra we mu yo arawe arawon dowe awodewe asomagbe aiboyo we ya pere ya se gbe ra ni mare na mu ko te hare aye mi ere na mi era ma ye mu gbo bi ni ma mo a igbilo to ye jawe e na ya fe ma ge na ni wan e wi ni ya ye aye yugbo ni a aye yugbo ni a o wa wi ye ekene orikere akulewo lawa we wala wa na e wa fi aya fi o no wi fi asere ya awa re ari owo ebe suku awa akoko mo ni die ajo ye moto aya gbe ni awa aya iya ma ni aru awe ama wo ni iwo na iya we iwo yana iwo ariasa wi ariasa awe na mu re ni emo ni eso wu nu yodo ekeni maye ni kina onda upe aro ogbon ni so jagi se ari oba adima e maye na e ma na ho ni maye no kan ala oda aro o te bizu gbezo Victor wo ye wo ni we wa mi e oda a politician we
we obada we ri le opupa ze e mebe o sa bo na fi agbe ma here
ise
we awen
koko bẹ́ẹ̀ni wọ́n so
lókàsó ló pọ̀ yèrè so súgé mami ẹ̀wò náà o sálọ́pọ̀ ọ̀rẹ́ ìdí àìní mà ń dáwẹ́ màní èkúi màní náà gbọ̀n màmá mú gbé màá yà dí àìní gbé mà ń dá màá mẹ́ máa ta tó tábà gẹ́gẹ́ gbé màá rọ̀ gẹ́lẹ́gẹ́lẹ́ náà yóò bá rí iṣẹ́ zà yà pa yẹn náà mú ẹni mà bọ́ ni ma to bi ma ya lu awe gbe ma ya yere we egede we na ga a Midwestern region ari we ona ki a region iva o te pa na fi agbe e mutala re na gaga ana do a 12 states ana wa ga ni e ma ne kwi ma ni wi ma ri o gbe ma mama e fi opa he says that Oegia secret Mahayana, no state, Mamma. A democracy 27 years. It be a higher of one, right? He on Yogi, Mamma, a feast it up. mami wọ́n sì gbóná ọwọ́ mi mẹ́gbà lọ́rí mẹ́ lọ́pàá lọ́rẹ́ àwọn náà fi ẹ̀rọ akọ́ ẹ̀ ẹ̀dọ́ anáfíà ìgbé náà fi ayé ìbá òtẹ́ ẹ̀dọ́ south ní ẹ̀rí àgbọ̀lẹ̀ ìstétì ẹ̀dọ́kọ́ gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì náà rí gbé ìstétì àwọn ẹ̀sìn ìwà màmí gbọ̀lẹ̀ lọ sí késùgé ẹ̀ náà ti rí àmì gbọ̀lẹ̀ àrírí ẹ̀yà ayé tìrìtìrì ni màá tẹ̀tí kùkù gbé ni màá mú díà ni màá máa náà fún màyà gbé náà ra ẹ̀ náà fún rẹ̀ gbé gbé máa dòrí ọ̀nà ògbí mọ́ ó dọ́ ni ọmọgí ìmúnímà ọmọgí ìgbà ẹ sọ bí àyàtọ̀ ní àbẹ ó padà tẹ dìkírì ó pẹ́ ní ẹwà àtà ni èmi àgbàlẹ̀ àwọn àpá ẹ̀mú ẹ̀yà ọ̀hún ẹjọ́ máa gbọ̀n ní ẹwà wẹ̀ ẹ̀yìn mọ̀ ẹ̀yà dòsí kiri mọ̀ iye náà. màní wí màá tó máa wọlé gbé mà màmá mi ò tí ó yẹ ẹwẹ́ o làhọ́ gbèmàkú òní òkùnkùn gbé ni màmá máa wẹ̀ sọ́wọ́ ìwògbó pánà lọ́pàá ìṣẹ́gun ògbólógbà no food gari at the liver you don't have food magbere ọba tó pẹ́.
anyway wọ́dà ẹ̀ ní màtá aláwùdá ọ̀rọ̀ rà ó ní màgùn kaná bàá yá mi aláwùdá rẹ̀ bàá yá mi àfiwòye rẹ̀ náà rí ẹni má èèmà ní ní abò ìyàfẹ́ bòdé ìwé náà ó lápá yìí àwẹ̀ pòlìsì bòye ẹ̀ ní àbíyẹ̀wò yọ awe ni na be to segebo avia yo ayi ya wa na bo ye na ni wa e nda wa dole yi awa me okari oba ogebo awa we iwo na lobebo yewe no ya ye ogun ya wa no awa dole yi awa asupo upo ni ma na emi awa aso rewe na terewe awa aso e awe oke oraro ebune eteye enya ni ya fe iya nya re abotu serebo iya mwese bogije na ohamero usero ni kire bawe na na miewe emina na ya fe ofi wori o saro papa ma tuti e mo ma tutu saloba sopa ma reguge uwe owo saloba areguge enyare orin mani maru ero padele yo abi Nigeria o dele yo rawe bi ma no na ma ya na dele yo oteme pastor
domosa owo mo ala na gbe wa wa uda ibo e o ba be labude o ori opa mama eri nwa ni uda dometi ni ma ayo ya ne do he no ya nura o mo na labu na gbe arude ne bodo ma ri ona labude bo ayo ya ne gọọmenti ma yẹra baba ma ní eri sogia ojaya jano ma wọ́n ma gbọ́ awu ajoja nù so pa amara bi ma la na ebo ja abia gọọmenti gege sogia wi ma ẹ awa agbọba gbìyàngbìyàn awa ma gbọ́ awọn akọ ẹ gadu ma gbèrò akpori nẹ ẹra wọ ma na do mu yi ma bọ na tẹ gbèrè mu ke wa mu ní atobi awẹ pẹpẹ na gwa lọ ẹ anamugba mi ewẹ usanka mi ọ̀nà do gbọ́ de natana nuda ugage wọ́n bí ẹgẹ̀ náà ká rọ̀ bẹ̀gẹ̀ ní èso gíánà rẹ̀ federal government àti òun ògìtẹ̀ ìrùdọ́ ààrẹ ọlágbádá náà rẹ̀ dáadé state ya ẹgẹ̀ náà wọ́n ya gbọ̀lọ̀ tó tọ̀ ìbá wọ́n ní adóbọ̀ iná rẹ̀ dáadé mẹ́ta ya lù igó ẹ̀ 3,000 mama sẹ́lẹ̀ ya dé fún ẹ̀yẹ 5 litre lọ ìzàgbódó nékeré àrùndà egi ẹ̀ ẹ̀gàn ǹdà ìsógíà ọjà yẹn jà náà ma wẹ́ àwọn ònyìnbí mani màá bẹ̀rẹ̀ yà sé gbé dé ègé sógíà náà bàbá èmi yà ìgbà náà dáadọ́ ọgbọ̀ ẹ̀yẹ gbé ọgbọ̀ anyìnyín mọ̀ ẹ̀ sọpọ̀ àyà mìíràn wẹ́ ọmọ ràrìrà ọmọ náà dòjì ọmọ náà mú sákàmẹ̀ àyí ní ìnànà ọ̀tá ọ̀rẹ́ àwòrán mi ọwọ́ òbí àwòrán kí ọwọ́ náà ó sọ ọmọ náà kẹ́àfì ọmọ náà sẹ́ẹ̀bà kẹ́pì fíù àbọ̀ èmi ọdún lígi yàrá ọ máa mi ò yà ọwọ́ mọ́ àlànà nà àbọ̀ ewúdé nà gbé àbọ̀ ewúdé ọ̀làwúdé ọkì nà yíyó yà náà ọjà náà rọ̀ ègé sógíà so pé ẹ̀jẹ̀ náà yà mí màá mọ̀ yà ní aláwọ̀ ma gbàbọ̀ de ẹgbẹ́ wọn awẹ́ ligiligi ìnáà yà sùn náà wọ́n àmì olùyìí náà ló tẹ̀ wí mana ọ̀sáká náà ló tẹ̀ wí mana
the
democracy náà ọ̀tún àgbè wà dóge ẹ̀yẹ́ nù gẹ́gẹ́ náà ní democracy náà òpè àrọ̀bọ̀gbọ̀n kẹbà pàdé wẹ́gẹ́ bí náà ó fi bọ̀ yé ẹ̀bí ó tọ́ ìwé adé yìí ọ̀wà ọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rí bẹ́ẹ̀ dé ní nọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀nà anáhàkà wẹ̀ gbọ́nà báyà sí wàlẹ̀ lọ́kẹ́ máa gẹ́dọ̀ ọwọ́ ẹ̀gẹ́ òyìnbó parí à ọ̀nàdù kẹ́dẹ̀dọ̀ orí kẹ́dẹ̀dọ̀ láti ẹ̀rẹ̀ yíra yẹrẹ yẹra mú fẹ́ ẹ̀mà ní ó ráyé nà wà jẹ́ náà ọba mú igbó náà ọ̀sẹ̀ yà dọ̀lẹ̀ dó náà yìí ọba mú kọ́ ọmọdé ọ̀gá wọn tọ́lẹ̀ dó náà pa ọdún ẹ̀mú kókó gbìyà ẹ̀rù náà gbà lọ mami ẹ̀fọ́ yìí sẹ̀dá gbádá ìgbé náà tẹ́lẹ̀ bí gbé jọ náà anáwó ẹ̀mí máa ní adé ní ẹ̀dọ̀ kí ẹ̀ ọ̀kárí ọba òfin ẹ̀rí wọ̀nyá fi ẹ̀ ọ̀nàdọ̀ ọdún akárí ọba ẹ̀ bá ní kọlọ̀ olókùnmá àti corruption ọ̀nàdọ̀ rí ara àwọn kì í sọ́gi ànínà wúdà màmá mi aláwòdà òrùparùpà lọ́rọ̀ ọ̀kẹ́yẹ ní adé wọ́n máa ná kókò ayọ́bọ̀ kékẹ́ náà yẹ ká gbọ́ màgbìyàngbìyàn lèmi yàrá mà èmi yà ń zẹ̀ mùdí akéde ọ̀nà sọ̀rọ̀ àdé tọ̀ ẹ̀rẹ́ ní pín zẹ̀ ọmọ sí 5,000 wà àmùdí ìbò kéré mọ̀ bọ́ emílíkì ìmọ̀ yà ń wí dá rẹ̀ rẹ̀ ni ọ̀nà àwọn àgbọ̀nà kẹsìkò èkó rẹ̀ wọ́n tó emílíkì 10 kọ́bọ̀ ó wà mọ̀ búrẹ́dì ó wà tó ẹyọ wà nyànà ẹ̀wẹ̀mìlà wà ẹ̀wẹ̀nẹ̀ òbú yọ ẹ̀rùgbó emílíkì ni àná ọmọ náà 1,000 àdọ́pá mẹ́mẹ́ yẹn wọ́n ẹ̀dẹ̀ ní ìyá mi kó yá dẹ́sẹ̀ ẹbí yẹn máa gbé kankankankankan àràsíọ́mà àmì àríwọ́gbà nọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀nà máa mú ìgbèrè ọ̀yá wíyẹ bọ̀ náà wa wọn ọ̀dẹ̀ náà mú mọ́tò náà yá ìgbò wa ẹ̀mà mọ̀ mi mọ́tò mi ní ọ̀nà amúhìyẹ ẹ̀mẹ́ kò tiẹ̀ frustration ọlọ́wọ́ wọn náà wòlé gbé bò pọ̀ èmi náà wòlé gbé ká lọ́wọ́ asọ́kító ẹ̀rọ gbọdọ̀ asọ́kító gọ́mẹ̀tì ọ̀yẹ́ nà rọ́gẹ́ ọ̀wá kẹ́kà ìwọ́n wíwá yá rí káàdì wọ́n á gbé wọn gbé wẹ́ ọ̀pára àrọ̀ bẹ̀ náà rí ọ̀sìkító ń sọ́lé ìbàdàn gbéra ìgí ìsèrà ní ọ̀gá rí ọba o mẹ̀yìn ìsèrà ọ̀nọ́pẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ wọ́n bá tí ìníwẹ́.
èyí ni a fẹ́ òpópó wa ẹ̀yìn nà ẹ̀wò ní ìgbà ọ̀rẹ́ nàìjíríà òbíyàn òbúwà ẹ̀ọ́yè báyà dọ̀lẹ̀ yìí ẹ̀ ìnára ọ̀hìn ẹ̀ mùfà wà màá ẹ̀ gẹ̀rẹ́ yà sùn ẹ̀yìn bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ̀dọ́yè nìyà gàkà wẹ̀ ẹ̀gẹ̀nẹ̀ nnukwu nọkị ma enyiwo nara amụghị okwu onye ma ya elo ya eye no ikpe weva anyị na wawe onye ikpe ihe 7,000 5,000 no ma ya elo ni sọpa bụ na idele wo ye baya lo ya aremewe wa sota we alauda agwalo alauda na agwalo na esi yeke ndani ayiye na wa mi ono no ma no se ti gbebo mu yi ai gwale na ni ana se koto Nigeria yiye o po degbe wedo wana ewo eyan ewo ile wa ile ri ewo do tagbon ma le ri elu yan mi wa kegbe ni re le ewo yan wi ale die do yan asedo yan ma imi ma ya wona ma imi ma ya gbogbo ma imi ma ya we ma imu ayiye ma boji ebe dona otosebe wo ya ni ma tuti na ni yiro ya se gbe governor ya se ya fe na ya fe ma gwalo to na ya do ugere 27 na haro ogma na yiri egbe wo be soja ima ehun se de we ni ma ebo ewe na do boy mu lo tedo aye ke na we mu la ọmọ fa ọmọ okene ọlá ẹwọ erewe kàrà yẹ ọlá wọlá wẹ́ẹ̀mí yàlá ni àwíyàlá èkènè ayámọ́ẹ̀lá ayámọ́ẹ̀lúwà ayámọ́ẹ̀lẹ̀kènè ìyàwó iná ọ̀nà ọ̀tà nínú ẹ̀ èyí náà yà ni wọ́n tẹ́ bízùgbé ìwé ìbòwé adé yóò yí lókà ẹ̀.
bàbá ọ̀sán abọ́dà ó dé báyìí máa ya náà fi ìwé rẹ̀ dàgbé máa ya ẹ̀ẹ́dọ́ tẹ̀wọ́n pa ọwọ́ kàràkà
okoko iko
yọ ibu ló bi yẹ ìbò ẹ̀rẹ̀ mamẹ̀kẹ̀ máa yí nàdọ̀rọ̀ àgbé máa náà àwọn àgbẹ̀ náà ọ̀sán abọ́dà ó dé lọ́gọ̀ máa gbá ọwọ́ ni màá wé náà yóò bọ̀ ní mà yọ̀rí gbìmọ̀ náà sábàdà gbìmọ̀ mi wé ni màá sí pàgbé nẹ́rẹ́ sí máa dìgẹ́ màá bẹ yára yóò bọ́ yẹ pẹ̀tì náà mọ̀ wọn àyùpọ̀ ọ̀wọ́n ni làápò ní ẹ̀ ó pẹ̀ ní lọ́kọ̀ ẹ̀ ìwà ní múdà kẹ́mẹ́ náà ìyá àjò kọ̀ọ̀kan rárẹ̀ dàgbìyàn náà tẹ a dividend náà kọ̀ọ̀kan lọ rẹ̀ àyègbè ní màá yára àyègbè ẹ̀gbọ́n ìmọ̀ àyìnà tó láwó lọ́kọ̀ sábàdà lọ́kọ̀ wọn rẹ̀ sún okò yìí mọ́ àrùn bàbá yà ni mẹka kabọdọ mu kpamu wẹrẹ ìdóga yi wẹ ìmọ atare de ọwọ de ọwọ kpa nìyí ìsẹsà ọ ti mọ ẹ má sẹ sọpọn bẹ́ẹ̀ ni orí ìgbégun ẹ orí ìyìn ìkàwé ni ọkẹ náà orí ọpá ni máa mú ẹ ọmọ mú lẹkẹtì yéye tó dọ́ni bí màá lè lẹ wà ní ìgbà orí mọ́ náà House of Assembly, House of Senate, House of Representatives, the President, the Governor. Yàwó ẹ̀yẹ èèmọ̀ ni wà gbà oge wàá gbà ọ̀rọ̀ àmúhàyà ẹ̀yẹ̀mọ̀ anágbọ̀n èèmọ̀ anágbọ̀n ni awúlò ọ̀hánà ìgbèdọ́wọ̀dọ́wẹ́. Nọ̀bẹ̀ ń sọ̀tì lè mú gbó nà òyìnbó ewu náà èèmọ̀ yà gbà kọ̀ ìbò dẹ́ agbésowà àmọ̀sọ àmọ̀yẹ imú agbóná tó ti kó yẹ lọ́yà fún
ẹ. máa gbọ́ kàǹfì dẹ́ ẹ̀mí náà rẹ̀ uhi udome ọ̀rẹ́ náà yà dùn ẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ nẹ̀ àríyàbá ọ̀rẹ́ yìkóyà sẹ́yìn ìmọ̀ àwùpẹ́ ẹ̀ arọ́wọ́gbọ́n nígbèrà àlùwà náà gẹ́dẹ́gbẹ́ ọ̀kẹ́ yìí rọ̀ wáyé tuntun àwẹ̀ òtún àrẹ bí Nàìjíríà ní àfi wòrí ẹ̀ ní àfi kùgbé wẹ́ aláwọ̀dà ọ̀rá rọ̀ ọ̀tẹ̀ ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ náà dé ǹdàyẹ̀ nígbèrà àbí yẹ ìmọ̀ ìlówóbe àbí gbogbo yẹn náà yẹn rí ìbáyé yẹn àrí stadium yẹn àrí ẹ̀yà àrí mìírànpá yẹn àrí yé wíwó náà yé náà ní wọn wọ́n ṣe Nàìjíríà rí ilé petrol wọ́n mú ẹ rí àyíṣẹ́tì ìkàwọ́dẹ́ àyíṣẹ́tì ìyúgbó àyíṣẹ́tì ìyógò èyí ni bóyá fẹ́ wà ẹ̀rọ màá náà tútì ẹ̀ àrí ọba yàfẹ́ máa pọ̀ mọ́sàrò bá yẹ̀dẹ̀ náà náà lórí ìmọ̀ ẹ̀ṣọ́ ìmọ̀ mara saruba ge gbera ya ni khoni ni re hospital ni kino khino no be do wa ni gbe mara ni ka no ge gbera wa saruba ge gbera wa ya fe mama na mu gibo ta de na yito ma ya ka uge na dona saruba de ba ma ya fe oba ato pe ise
RTV, certainly the best.
It's always an exciting time to have you join us on the program Heritage with yours sincerely, Oloije Oyihohai. Getting you closer to your custom and tradition is what we know how to do best. Yes, letting you know about individual tradition, letting you also know that it's always good for us to associate ourselves with our tradition. Now, talking about tradition, today we will be taking a ride down to Enugu State to go see Obolo Masquerade Dance. I tell you, if you are not energetic enough to dance this, I tell you, you ought to just, leave it down for the professionals. So let's go over to Enugu State to go see the wonderful and colorful display of Obolo Masquerade Dance. This is Obolo for Masquerade Dance that originated in Udenu local government area of Enugu State, Nigeria. The masquerade dance is rooted in the Igbo culture and it is prominent in the cultural spectacle and designed to enforce community morality and provide aesthetic entertainment and celebrate icon. Dance is performed for several core spiritual, social, and cultural reasons, such as Omadi, which are seen as sacred pageants arriving briefly from the spirit world. They are believed to be reincarnated spirits of ancestors returning to interact with and bless the living. In Obolo Ofo community, These masquerades steps in to maintain social order and discipline during festivals and public gatherings.
La funiga zumberi na zaka de kufu gana suru suru o kani ka ko bale da ka bodo do bi pere do ku bi ko ro do li to ka ble ti le ku bale no bade da ka ba to ka uru ku cho so ke ngule bo bla da ale ku ta na bade da ba so ke le a ba le ba sa agara pa mo le ro ko na su mo ni gugu na bo so dira kata ku ri meje do ko le de lo de ga ta na ma le so le ta su di gugu la na ka ko le cho ka le ma ni ro ni je le fin ma no le ko wa ko go e ti le so na bo wa ku na ba ni do le za pa ka le da pa to ko bi ko na ko pa be se do ko la je gugu ti guri ke ro jo ko ba o de so go le la ba sa da wa ti guri le be za sa ro ere e so ma mo ro mo ka ro ba
This masquerades in Obolo Ofo community. They are known as entertaining masquerades as they provide vibrant, acrobatic entertainment and joy to the community. The dances and display were heavily featured during planting and New Yam festivals to invoke blessings for fertility and bountiful harvests.
Consider my way there. Consider.
time is us. What am I to go now? What am I to go away? What am I going to go that I'm going to go now for my dog and a free man? So I got a habit to do what I do. No, we don't have any children or what I want. We're not going to do it. Many people will not go on a back with Actually, so never one about
Agbara nga chono ebe dile yini kokor lagana aka me fuga bere no no jina la bere te fresh na bere bube no ma gon go ko wa mo bia la ro ngure nsi jo le wora pata ya ze honya ga ijole ya la ibia na agbo nya ga gba pa gbogbo honya la re na paga to ma ne fo goro gere gere ano ma no bo na chi me kiri be na nya wo go dangalo
From the eastern part of our country, Nigeria, I sure do know you had an exciting time today watching Obolo Masquerade dance. Yes, colorful display and energetic display, I must tell you. So we'll be seeing you again next week for another exciting time on Heritage. Taking you around the world, taking you around Nigeria is what we know how to do best. Till then, do have yourself a blessed day. Bye for now.
RTV, certainly the best.